Welcome to All Politics is Local. We are your hosts, Darren Smith.
Terry Riley.
And, welcome to our first episode. The first thing we want to talk about, and just to give a little brief background, we are on TSHP-TV, the ship TV. And this is something that we plan to bring to you as often as we possibly can to talk about politics, whether it's in Kansas City or anywhere across the country, both locally, across the state, and national. And Terry, there's a lot of big news that's happening today. On this very day, the final primaries and caucuses are taking place across the country for both Democrats and Republicans. And just last night, the AP has stated that Hillary Clinton is the presumptive Democratic nominee, making her the first woman in a major party to be the nominee for their party's representation in the White House. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think it's great. And you remember last time she said 16 million holes were knocked into the glass ceiling, and she's just totally kicked the glass ceiling in. And I think it's about time in our country. And the truth of the matter is there's been men for
1789 or something.
Okay, how about a few centuries?
Yeah.
And I believe that it's time for a female to get that opportunity. Say what you want about Hillary Clinton, but the one thing that Republicans have said is that Hillary was the consummate deal maker. And we need a president that can make some deals that are ethical deals, unlike the person that says they can make deals. And we'll talk about him later.
And just so you know, the views and opinions that are expressed on this show is that of our own, doesn't represent THSP. But I can tell you, at least on this episode, if you're an elected Republican official or your feelings get hurt easily, you might want to turn off right now.
I would say so myself.
All right, but now let's talk about both sides. First of all, let's stick with the Democrats right quick. Mm-hmm. Bernie Sanders has run a good race. I am a Bernie Sanders supporter. I believe you're a Hillary Clinton supporter?
Yes, I'm a Hillary Clinton supporter.
Okay. And so taking everything at face value, Bernie Sanders has ran a great race, but he is still he still plans on going and competing to get the Democratic nomination through the Democratic convention. Do you think that's a good move? Not, and why?
Well, the truth of the matter is this. Hillary said the same thing when she was running. She will continue throughout the convention, and Hillary ended up subsequently endorsing Barack. And let me say this, because we've had this conversation, I love Bernie. I think Bernie has brought so much energy, so much charisma, and just so much that old spunky old man type of deal to the to the politics, and have really energized young people, and I really love that. And he's pushed Hillary all the way over to the left, so to speak, and now she's going back to the center, whereby if he wasn't there, I don't think we as America would have been able to really hear the depth and the breadth of the issues that are out there.
And but speaking about the issues, though, he has brought issues forward that even kind of divides the Democratic Party, and that has that's been addressed, because something about it. When President Obama ran for re-election in 2012, the whole premise of it at that time was the 47% on Occupy Wall Street, mm-hmm. and income inequality. And it seems as though once he got away from that, it's somewhat as a platform or an issue for the Democratic Party itself kind of faded to the background. But it's because of Bernie Sanders and obviously fast food restaurants that you have the issue of $15 minimum wage. Mm-hmm. Because initially the president supported $9 minimum wage as an increase, and then mm-hmm. Hillary Clinton $12, and Bernie Sanders pushed both has pushed the Democratic mm-hmm. Party to what is now $15 the minimum wage. So his voice it caused a big difference.
And his voice matters in this. And what he has brought to the table is he's pushed Hillary, but even if we end up somewhere in the middle between that $9 and that $15 an hour, it has put more food on the table. It's getting more of our, it's bringing more money into the households of individuals that work these jobs.
And that allows them to actually go out with the businesses and purchase more goods and services.
Yes, which will help those small businesses do well, which is the backbone of our economy, which is small businesses. It's not the large corporations. And so I thank Bernie for that, and I thank Hillary for, coming to the table as well, along as and as well President Obama that said, hey, man, this is what we should be doing. And this is stuff we can do on a local level. Local politicians, city council members, county commissioners can do this. State reps can do it, state senators. And even, school boards can make sure that there is a living wage in place to make sure citizens can survive off those, off the dollars and paychecks that they're making.
Now, the question is, do those politicians need to have it somewhere deep inside them to want to push forward to like Bernie Sanders, or do you feel that, let's start in Kansas City, that they need to be pushed to do it?
Well, in Kansas City, we had city council members push that, and then some of the some of the other people fought against it, and some of the business community. But the thing is, man, now since it's on the table, I think the business communities, i.e. the civic councils and also the chambers, they'll come to the table and say, look, how can we meet in the middle? Because it was such a dominant issue in this election cycle, and it wasn't the politicians to push it. It was the people. And now just keeping that momentum. And that's why I believe he really wants to go to the convention. I'm talking about Senator Sanders, and push some of those issues and put it as some of the issues that are part of the Democratic platform. And I support that.
Now, let me ask you this, because there was also a difference between the two as it relates to both healthcare and higher education. Mm-hmm. Now, people. I had this argument with my baby brother who's in the military, and he actually came out and said he's a Republican. So we went back and forth Sunday, with the discussion, with the discussion. But the main part of it was he was saying, well, Bernie Sanders wants free. But I'm like, those are the only two things that he's talked about being free, being the healthcare and the education. Now, in my opinion, and this is just how I felt, healthcare should be a right for all. It shouldn't be something that that people go into debt, try to figure out how they're going to pay their bill or this bill because they can't figure out how to pay their medical bills. And I've always said that if you have to pay a higher tax or a little bit more, as a premium to get services that will keep you out of debt, I believe that people will pay their price.
Well, I agree. Philosophically, I agree with you. And I know saying free healthcare, free school. Now, let me tell you, there is a way we can do this thing from that will be economically feasible. This is just my idea. And they do it in some school districts now. Some of our kids can come out of high school with associate's degrees. They can have their certification in IT, being in construction, or as a carpenter, or as a plumber, whereby our young people can come out of high school with a certification, and you can work with the local junior colleges. A perfect example is Malcolm X Junior College in Chicago. They do this now, where a high school student goes to college and they come out with a certification and they go right into working for FedEx. And you're coming out making $60,000, $70,000 a year. Those are the type of things where I think we can intertwine what Bernie is saying, intertwine it into a college program where young people can go for free and get those certifications, because everyone just does not want to go to college. And for those that are not adequately prepared, go do this. This is the opportunity I had. That's the opportunity that you had as well with those individuals that didn't want to go. I have friends now that are still carpenters, they're welders, roofers, that graduated with me that are making $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year from having those trades when they leave high school.
Now, there has been reports that the president plans on endorsing the Democratic nominee this week, which obviously would be Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. But of course, by doing that, and if Bernie Sanders continues to press his way, mm-hmm. How can the president do it in such a manner that it doesn't turn off Sanders supporters where they feel like the system is against them, and that, okay, well, now you put all the chips in front of Sanders, where now we're going to go with Hillary? I mean, not here with Donald Trump or another third party.
Well, Donald Trump is doing it to himself, hurting himself with getting those Bernie supporters. I mean, it's just he's a walking weapon of mass destruction for himself. But that's a totally different issue. But those individuals that are upset, I understand that because there's a lot of passion behind that campaign. There was a lot of passionate people that were upset. Even with Claire McCaskill, because she went with Obama, a lot of women's groups were against her
Right.
the next time around, and she had to beg for their support because she went with Obama instead of the woman. And so, I mean,
That's a discussion for another time.
that's a whole nother discussion, But at any rate, I believe Bernie will come to the table and say, okay, I am going to ask for my supporters to support Hillary because there's never been a presidential candidate in my lifetime that has been more destructive, more divisive, more, blowing the dog whistle, being racist about different issues than I've seen with Trump. And so it would be advantageous to them to go with Hillary Clinton. And I know it's going to take a healing process. And so hopefully by the time we have an election, they can all shift over and support Hillary.
Now, before we move on to the Republican side, who do you think, and this is obviously, she's just getting the nomination today, but in your opinion, if you had to throw the dice now, who do you think Hillary Clinton will pick or should pick as her running mate?
Very complicated because I like a lot of people out there. I am not a fan of Cory Booker being there. I like Cory Booker. I know him personally. I've been knowing him for several years. Knew him when he was city councilman. Had a relationship with him with mayor and still know him as a US senator. Not enough experience. The other side, you have Patrick DeVos.
Plus, the Wall Street part hurts him as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
Wall
if
Street.
you're trying,
Right.
because somewhere along the way, Hillary is going to try to trek back to the center with all as far left as she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do it in a way where, in my opinion, where you're getting somebody from the Wall Street, because that right there will blow up your
Well,
campaign.
let me give you a little point about Wall Street. The truth of the matter is this: President Obama took money from Wall Street. President Obama was chastised in the second election cycle, and they went against him big time because of all the regulations he put forth. But guess what? He still won. I think Hillary has a chance to show herself because if she gets there and she does not do what she says as it relates to Wall Street, those Wall Street, the Wall Street people, one, will be against her, but the people themselves will be against her. And it won't take very much to tilt the scales as it relates to a presidential campaign.
Okay, well, I didn't want to stop you. You started with Cory Booker. Who else you have in mind?
Cory Booker. I like Patrick Duvall.
Now that's my choice.
I like Patrick
I'll
Duvall,
explain
but
why.
and Patrick Duvall and I have had a conversation. I know Patrick as well, and Patrick said his wife said that he just needs to sit there in Massachusetts and make some money.
Well, and that's actually the reason why he didn't run for president, because I remember reading very vividly that President Obama told him he needs to run, or that he should run. Now, granted, everybody assumed that President Obama was for Hillary Clinton out the gate, but I remember reading in Politico about 2-3 years ago that, especially with the Boston bombing stuff and how he handled it and that gravitas that he, to bring that city out of it, that helped with his credentials and stuff. And the president felt that he should run, one, because it would add something to the race and be able to push Hillary, if she were to win. But I think that if Patrick would have ran, I think he would have gave her a real hard time. And, we may not be in the situation that we're in, but that would be my personal choice for VP. But who else you think?
I mean, and you look in the southern states, we don't have too many southern Democratic governors. But another person that I like, right now says that they're not really into it, is Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine has been a very, very good, strong, he was a good, strong governor. And his policies, if you really take a look at them, have been very good as it relates to minorities and women across the board. As the governor in his appointments, and also he has the credentials as it relates to national security.
Well, My only issue is that, and it's basically anybody that she picks being a white male, is just that it's hard to follow the first African American president if for me, if you're on the ticket, especially on the Democratic side, and it's all white. Simply because at the end of the day, when there's issues that pertain to us and other minorities, there's no minority, on the ticket that can speak for us. I mean, it's one thing to say, well, you got Bill Clinton that's going to be around, that's going to be in the room with her making decisions and stuff like that. But he's not black. He doesn't speak for us. With President Obama, he is a black man that can speak to issues dealing with minorities. However, I just feel like blacks or African Americans are the reason why Hillary Clinton won this nomination over Bernie Sanders, because he cannot pull the African American vote. So that is the reason why she got so many more votes than Bernie Sanders to win this nomination, in my opinion. But I believe facts can back that up. However, to turn around and then put a white male on there, it's like, okay, that's a slap in the face, because at the end of the day, who's going to be there to represent us?
Well, that's why you have a cabinet, and that's why you have advisors. And one of the things that Obama has had, and the same thing that W had, no matter what people thought about W's right hand, was you got Valerie Jarrett. Valerie Jarrett was there the whole entire time, and you need a senior advisor that can talk about those issues candidly. There has not been many orators in American history that's been able to articulate the issues relative to race like President Obama. And I think it will be a long time before you will have someone of that caliber and that gravitas that can speak as eloquently about those issues. I mean, and take a look at the Loretta Lynch. Look at our former
Eric Holder.
Attorney General Eric Holder. They were able to talk about those issues in a very, very candid way, very professional way, that made people understand, and they didn't have to stand up on the table to do it. They were able to sit there at a microphone and talk about that and articulate that. And so it can be one. You can have a president. You can have President Obama. But if President Obama didn't have the Black Caucus, Democratic Caucus, and some others around him, he would not be able to convey that message the same.
Right. But the president also he was smart, he was wise enough to know that he put blacks in key positions like Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch in that position.
Right.
And he had a Valerie Jarrett, to where you got to remember Rahm Emanuel and the other chief of staff of the Daily, they had problems with her because of the proximity and the closeness in relation that she had with President Obama. But what I'm saying is, when Hillary Clinton, if she gets into office, who is going to be that Valerie Jarrett? Who's going to be that Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder?
Let me tell you this. One person in particular you might not know about is Bob Nash. Bob Nash was the over White House, the hiring. He was like the HR director of hiring and so he hired everyone in the White House. Bob Nash, which came out of Arkansas, the same place where Bill Clinton and Hillary's from. Bob Nash is a senior advisor that when he speaks right now, it makes a difference. I can remember Bob Nash when I was traveling around with the Obama campaign. I used to see Bob everywhere. Bob is one of those individuals that will be right there. Another one by the name of Carl Willis from Arkansas, came up with the Clintons. See, there is, I call them Clintonites, a number of them that came up with the Clintons that are still there, that are intrinsically involved at this time, that are doing things. And so as it relates to that, I believe Hillary Clinton will have people in place that will be able to deal with these issues in a way that is in the best interest of African Americans in our community. And so that's where I stand on it. And I think having an African American just on the ticket, you need a person that can provide value on the ticket. And I think Patrick Duvall probably would not run.
Well, and that would be my first suggestion. The second one actually is Secretary of Labor Tom Perez. His name has been mentioned out there, and I would like to see that as well, because I was talking to my contact who works for the president now, and she was telling me there's talk of Julio Castro But again, that falls back with the Cory Booker lack of experience, youthfulness, doesn't really sell. And then of course, yeah, you are kind of micro targeting, which I understand. But if you do, I'd rather have someone with gravitas such as a Tom Perez who can speak for us, on that ticket, and he has shown to be a strong advocate and surrogate for Hillary.
Tom Perez is good, and I see Tom Perez, and we see him all over the country dealing with multiple issues. And the good thing about Tom, he has been one of those advocates, making sure minorities and women are getting jobs. Training dollars are out there throughout the country. Perez has been an excellent advocate, and I think he will bring something to the table. That's one of my short list people as well, and I'm comfortable with that. But as you know, there's so many wheels turning right now to get the right one. And all these other individuals are being vetted right now.
And one last name, I guess, before we switch sides, Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren, I love Elizabeth. She brings fire into the kitchen.
I feel like there's a butt coming for some reason.
Yeah. But I just don't know.
About 2 women on a ticket?
Well, in America's a different place.
I was going to say, because there's always been 2 men on the ticket besides Sarah Palin.
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I don't know if America will. And plus, I just think she needs to get a little more experience.
Okay, well, I feel you on that one. So let's switch sides to the Republicans now. Now, the Republicans, they've had their nominee for a few weeks now. It is a billionaire or super millionaire, because we don't know how much he's really worth because he refuses to release his taxes, but the one and only Donald J. Trump. Now, he's gotten himself into trouble in the hot water a lot recently, but his most recent comments about this federal judge that's handling his civil case dealing with Trump University, he's basically gone all out racist, and it seems as though not too many Republicans, especially the elected official Republicans, are trying to back away now. While we were talking earlier, it came across the lines that GOP Senator Mark Kirk unendorses Trump, says that he does not have the temperament to command our military or our nuclear arsenal. But I don't know. I guess it's just me with my mental jujitsu that I like to play with Republicans, is that you knew all this during the primary, and you couldn't stop him, or you didn't do enough to try to stop him, to where some of you all who ran against him said all these things, how we couldn't trust Trump, and then you turn around and endorse him. Now, he was saying all this stuff, not only while he was running, but he was saying racial stuff about the president, not being born in America, show us your papers and things like that, where John Boehner, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, none of them during that time ever called him out, ever stood up, to even defend the president against something to this extent. Now, all of a sudden, you want us to believe that you have a change of heart, that what he says now, here, 2016, what's today, June 6th, 7th, or whatever, that now it's offensive. Now, because he is the standard bearer, Paul Ryan has endorsed him, Mitch McConnell has, and so the Republican Party, they've endorsed it. So, in my opinion, his views are your views. And it's too late to be trying to distance yourself from him, because you should have done it a long time ago. And now whatever he says, you have to own it. I mean, I really feel like when we get off the air, going back into the studio and start cutting some commercial spots for some of these GOP candidates, to run it against them. I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk like that now, but basically, it's too late. It's too late for them to be trying to backtrack.
Right. Quite frankly, it's bizarre, because you have Senator Graham, that said, "Oh, okay, I'll go ahead and endorse him." First, he was against him. Then he said, "Well, I'll go ahead and endorse him." And now he said he should be dumped.
Exactly.
And all of them are getting afraid, because they're afraid in their own districts. It's not so much of his comments, that he's just saying these comments publicly.
Yeah, because there's no proof that they don't believe the things that he's saying. A lot of times is just don't say it publicly.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, if you take a look at what Trump has said, you take a look at 4 years ago, the Republicans, when the convention platform, it fits into their platform. Take a look at that. And next time we talk, let's go through the Republicans' platform of 4 years ago and look at the things that Trump is saying right now.
And to be
And
honest,
it fits in.
well, not even that. Just think about what Mitt Romney when he was running. We talked about self-deportation.
Right.
Instead of them just going off on their own, well, Donald Trump is just going to provide buses now for them. You know what I'm saying? To self-deport. For them to self-deport themselves and then build a wall. But again, as I had the conversation with my brother over the weekend, who do you think is going to build the walls?
Well, the other thing I guess Trump is forgetting about, if you can build a wall, but a lot of people fly in and they take boats. And so I guess you'll build a wall in the water.
And most of the immigrants come from Canada.
Right. So I really don't understand it. And you have a lot of people out there defending this guy. And they have his communications director says he doesn't have a racist bone in his body. And it's just what people will do for money is just unbelievable.
You know what? I posted something yesterday where the Florida Attorney General actually nixed a lawsuit, nixed something dealing with Donald Trump because she asked him for a campaign donation
Of $25,000.
He gave it to her and then it disappeared. Now, see, that is the reason why people dislike politics.
Florida Attorney General Pam, what's her name? Bondi?
I'm gonna pull it up right now.
Yeah, she gave. She had just asked for a $25,000 donation, and then she asked for it beforehand, and then she received the money, and then she refused to go in on the lawsuit with the other attorney generals that filed this lawsuit against Donald Trump, and so they say they made a mistake. This is what she said.
Pam Bondi. No,
Bondi.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pam Bondi, Attorney General in Florida. And so he's paying people off to dismiss lawsuits. Then he's, and I think the thing that's been lost here with Donald Trump is what he's done to those families that he's just ripped off. 30,000 here, 35,000 there, and made all these promises, and it has amounted into nothing for those families. And so my heart goes out to all those individuals that are spending their life savings to become part of something that's not real, that does not even exist.
And I know we talked a lot about the Democratic side, but on the Republican side, Donald Trump, there are reports saying that he only has like 70 people on his campaign across the country.
Right.
So he doesn't have a full-fledged presidential campaign, I guess. But he's also saying that he only plans to run in certain states that Democrats, I guess feel like. Well, I guess in his opinion, where Republicans normally don't run, that he thinks he can win at. So, I mean, what do you think about his strategy going forward, I guess, as his way of trying to win? And do you even think he's trying to win?
You know what? I can't talk about his strategy because his own political advisors can't talk about his strategy. It's day-to-day. It's like make up as you go. If he gets mad, he throws everything out the window and the bathtub and the sink. And when I found out about this campaign, in which I'm not really going to be as disgusted with Donald Trump, is because Donald Trump is for Trump. Trump is not for America. He doesn't want to make America great again. He really wants to promote Trump. He doesn't care about anything else. It's all about Trump. And so having a person, as the president of the United States of America that doesn't care about the people, but he cares about himself only, is a recipe for disaster. Is why people should not vote for him, no matter how many racially stimulating things he might say to them. And I don't understand how it got this far, but...
Well, I'm going to tell you what worries me, is that Donald Trump is, and now this is what I respect about Trump, and I've told people this when he came down the escalators, that he's running a different type of campaign that nobody's ever seen before, because he's going to play by his own rules. Mm-hmm. And by playing by your own rules, you can't do the standard Republican Democrat oppo and attack, because you've never seen this before. And that's why he was able to knock out 16, governors, senators, and what have you, doctors. that's what's going to make it difficult for Hillary. Granted, you can just go back to the footage and use all the stuff that Donald Trump has said, but he pulls up the jujitsu where he changed his mind from 5 minutes to 5 minutes before to what he said 5 minutes later, and so that's going to be hard to campaign against him.
Mr. Smith, when you get 50, 60, 70,000 million people on television, one-on-one, that's a game changer.
It is, but however, Donald Trump is going to make his own rules where he's going to feel like he doesn't need, because all he's going to say is Hillary's lying, she's doing this, she's doing that.
No, but let me tell you this, the commentators will stop him. See, this is a lot
They
different.
haven't done it thus far. $2 billion worth of free advertising. They haven't done it.
No. When you're doing those debates one-on-one, I tell you, you will have the best in the game there. Let him play the game.
I understand. I don't believe it's going to get to a debate. I believe he's going to do what he can to not even debate at all. Because it's not mandatory that he, for these debates.
It's not mandatory,
So,
but I tell you this, the pressure will be immense and intense. Because let me tell you, one is you don't want to debate, you don't want to show your taxes, and you want to call everybody that you don't like their color, say they should be banned or they're racist or rapists. I mean, there's no room for that in America, politics. And so he can play those games, but I don't think it's going to work long term. Now, I'm scared that he has, because he's the nominee, I'm scared that this man could possibly get elected. 50-50 chance.
And
which is scared. And he's scared for America.
And I was telling my older brother this morning, he was asking me, do I really think he has a chance? And to be honest,
yes.
Yeah, he has a chance because I told him at the end of the day, and unfortunately, we've seen it just in these endorsements that Paul Ryan and some of them said. At the end of the day, they believe more in their hatred of Hillary than they do in their care for the country. See, that's my issue, not with the Republican Party, but with these elected officials. This is what I was telling my brother. Like I said, he's a Republican, and my brother-in-law is a Republican as well. Is that you say one thing, but you do another. You can't promote Christian values, but you allow all this hatred and hate talk that's going on from Donald Trump and his Tea Party as it relates to these judges, President Obama over these last few years, and you say nothing about it. You can't, you can't be for country and party, and you allow this as your representative, but you endorse them.
Yeah, God, family, and country. You're a Christian conservative, but you don't go to church. Just like number 2 Corinthians, Trump, he couldn't even say 2 Corinthians.
Yeah, that was funny.
I mean, man, that is dangerous, man.
That's dangerous.
When you have no compass. Now, all of us are sinners now. All of us make mistakes, but we can ask for forgiveness. He doesn't even think he needs to ask for forgiveness.
He's never asked for forgiveness. You know that?
I know that. He said he's never asked God for forgiveness because he's
never
Trump.
even apologized.
Right? He's Trump.
Well, according to him, I'm sure but you know what? That again is another discussion because we'll talk about the arrogance that is of Donald Trump and where that comes from. But that is not going to be on this week's topic because that's a whole nother game changer. But Terry, it looks like we've kind of run a few minutes over.
Yeah.
But this is the debut of All Politics is Local with myself, Darren Smith, and former city councilman, former state rep, and former school board member Terry Riley. And so until next time, you can catch me every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on the Fox Sports Radio, KLKC 1540 a.m. with The Ship with Darren Smith. On this week's show, we'll talk about Muhammad Ali. I'll have as guest Joel Goldberg from Fox Sports, as well as Freddie Comer from ESPN Radio. Here on The Ship TV. And Terry, anything you want to say, how people can reach you?
We'll see you next time.
Well, you're a man of a few words, I see. Keep it locked in, and until next time, thank you for joining us today.